A murder convict was found dead on August 7th.
Ramlal was released from prison after serving her sentence for the murder of her common-law husband.
Ramlal was last seen and heard by a man who admitted to meeting her.
Nobody hasn't heard from her. She hasn't come home or anything as that. She hasn't contacted.
By me Monday, she come by me, she asked me for some money. She said, my dad was to pay the rent.
Right.
Right, I'll give she the money.
Smart was Ramlal's common-law husband at the time of her death. Now that same woman, she was in fact a murder convict, having served a sentence for the murder of her husband.
On May 5, 2006, the body of a 30-year-old man by the name of Anil Jadoo was discovered in his St. Augustine home in Trinidad, one island of the Caribbean country Trinidad and Tobago. That sparked a series of events that proved not only bizarre but heinous in nature, as the shocking truths were discovered. His wife at the time, a woman named Kareen Ramlal, was found to be the mastermind behind his murder, but their story got even more twisted beyond his death. According to a scathing report, Kareen and her mother conspired in a devious plot to murder her then-husband and father of their 6-year-old daughter. However, that wasn't the most alarming part. One other person also joined in their murderous scheme, Anil's own best friend Pardasi, who reports state was intimate with his wife Kareen. His best friend's fee for aiding in his murder was a meager $800, which adds a devious atmosphere to the already dark murder case. On May 2, 2006, Kareen told Pardasi she wanted her husband dead that night, over claims that he was hitting her. The plan hatched between the trio was for her to take Anil to the cinema while her mother prepared a poisoned meal. His friend would then carry a bowl of food for him after their return. However, Anil's bowl would be the one poisoned with insecticide. And so the gears began turning. Everything was going as planned. The husband and wife went to the cinema. Then upon his return home, his friend came with the food, and they began drinking and having the meal. Trusting his friend, Anil never would have thought he conspired with his wife to end his life. Down the poisoned food went into his stomach. Call it luck or instinct. But suddenly, Anil stopped eating the food. Instead, he placed the remainder in the fridge, after telling his friend that something about it didn't taste right, then went to bed. With not enough poison being ingested to end Anil's life as intended, it was time for Plan B to come into play, which was even more revolting than their first murder plot. As Anil went to bed, Pardasi was about to do something to his friend one could only call cold-blooded. He crept into his room with a piece of wood in his grasp. Once close enough, he retracted his arm and with all his might brought it down upon his friend's head in repetition, bludgeoning him to death. After the deed was done, he disposed of the murder weapon and told his two accomplices what happened, to which Kareen smiled, while her mother also responded with satisfaction. 2 days went by, and no one could get a hold of Anil. The reason why became clear when his battered body was found by a relative. An autopsy revealed he died of blunt force trauma to the skull and brain, and a methamyl-based pesticide was found in his bloodstream. While loved ones mourned, the deadly trio believed it was the perfect murder. But taking a life is something the conscience wasn't intended to be immune to, and for Anil's best friend, turned Judas, that was even more true, because his conscience wouldn't let him rest. He was haunted by what he had done, and when he couldn't take the guilt anymore, he caved, calling Anil's mother to apologize for taking her son's life. With his revelation, he was arrested, upon which he took the police to Anil's home and showed them the murder weapon and the poisoned food. The meal was taken to the Forensic Science Center and tested positive for malathion, the poisonous insecticide. There were also traces of the poison in Anil's blood. The supposedly perfect crime came crashing down. Anil's wife, her mother, and his best friend were now behind bars. The mother and daughter, who initially coerced his friend, now saw him as their only way to wiggle from the thumb of the law. Quick to throw him under the bus, they blamed the murder solely on him, making their role in the scheme appear minuscule. Kareen told police her husband threatened her and slapped her. Fed up with the problems in the relationship, she decided to poison him. That's when she claimed Pardasi had asked for $800 to murder his friend, while her mother backed her up, saying he volunteered to carry out the homicide. The judge, however, saw through their facade, mentioning that the murder wasn't one that happened in the spur of the moment during the alleged domestic assault. Instead, the judge noted the plot was well thought out and strategically incorporated various roles for the trio, along with a backup plan if the poison failed. 15 years and a day would pass since Anil's murder, and the case finally came to a conviction. Their sentence initially leaned towards a verdict of 24 years, but all three pleaded guilty to felony murder in January 2021, reducing their sentence to 1 year and 2 months after the time they spent behind bars was also included.
In 2006, Jadu was fed a pot of poisoned goat stew that she, her mother, and a close male friend cooked. Her husband was not killed by the poison but was struck in the head with a piece of wood and died. Ramlal, along with her mother, Ramlal, and Jiwan Pardesi, were accused of murdering Jadu on May 3, 2006. All three pleaded guilty and were given varying sentences.
If this was a normal homicide, the case would have been closed right then and there. But from the details so far, it's clear this case was far from normal. The events that follow Kareen next are like death and karma joining forces to hunt her down. Kareen's sentence began in March 2021, but was released early on good behavior in December that same year.
Last December, Ramlal was released from prison after serving her sentence for the murder of her common-law husband Anil Jadu in 2006.
That's when she became entangled in a relationship with her new partner, 36-year-old Reginald Smart. The two appeared like a fated meeting, but as time would reveal, she found herself in a relationship with the male version of her past self. On August 1, 2022, Kareen's daughter, Kareen, stated her mother returned to their apartment at Tuna Puna after her shift as a security guard. At the time, Kareen was asleep, but security cam footage captured her mother's coming and going. Kareen left the apartment wearing a white jersey and light blue jeans. That was the last time anyone would see Kareen. That was until 2 days passed, and family members became worried as they couldn't make any contact with Kareen or had no idea of her whereabouts. It was as if she had just vanished. Her daughter contacted her mother's employer, but she was informed her mother didn't turn up for work on Tuesday, which was the day after the security camera caught her leaving their apartment. Same as their family, her employer got no answer when calling her phone, and that was unlike Kareen. She always checked in on her daughter and son daily. Intoxicated with paranoia and worry about their mother's disappearance, Kareen's daughter and son stumbled through social media for any clue that would lead to her whereabouts. That's when they came across their mother in a picture with a man they did not know. That man was her common-law husband, Reginald. Kareen contacted one of her mother's friends, who informed her of their relationship and shared a contact for the guy in question. Upon calling and introducing herself, she inquired about her mother. Reginald informed her that her mother came by him on Monday evening, about 2 p.m., and she met him at his work site at Penal Rock Road. This could be where she went when the security camera caught her leaving the apartment. Reginald told the daughter they hung out for a while before he placed her in a taxi to return home. When asked if he had tried contacting her since, Reginald said he tried to call, but her phone kept going straight to voicemail. Finding something suspicious about his responses, Kareen informed him her mother had not returned and she would be going to the police to report her missing. After that conversation, Reginald refused to answer any call thereafter. The daughter handed his information and phone number to the police, who also posted a missing person flyer for any details about Kareen's disappearance. The following recording of parts of the phone conversation was obtained between the daughter and her mother's common-law husband and aired by popular crime journalist Ian Allen.
Monday,
Thank you.
nobody hasn't heard from her. She hasn't come home or anything as that. She hasn't
By
contacted.
me Monday, she come by me, she asked me for some money. She said, all I do is to pay all the rent.
Right.
Right, I give she the money. I wasn't okay
So
when
look
she
at
come
going
and
into the
like,
car.
but she leave by me, I put she in a taxi.
Oh, you
Man
put her in a
that
taxi.
man has
and
gone,
what time was that?
the person has gone into
About
hiding
after.
now,
About
He's
after
missing
4.
now.
And after that, she contacted you or anything, or?
I tried
The
calling
man
she,
said,
but she went off.
Kareen
I
met-
don't know. You know she was vexed with me sometimes, so I don't know.
By chance, what area you put her in the taxi in?
Up Rock Road, yeah.
Rock Road. That's penal side, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and she hasn't.
Look at here when she
contacted
was
you or
alive
anything?
a couple of days
You know,
ago.
I tried calling, she wasn't.
I want the camera important, you know.
On Sunday, August 7th, 2022, 6 days after Kareen was last seen, a collective led by the Hunters Search and Rescue Team, along with police from the Crime Investigation Division, set out to Ribeiro Trace at Penal Rock Road around 7 a.m. to hopefully locate the missing woman. As the search intensified, air support, a canine unit, and additional officers were enlisted as the team trekked to a location known as Bob Trace. The search lasted for hours, but around 2:32 p.m., the team came across the disheartening discovery in a bamboo patch. Within a wrapped tarp, a pungent smell emanated. Upon further inspection, Kareen's deceased, decomposing body was found in the same white top and blue jeans she was last seen wearing 6 days earlier, leaving her apartment.
The body of a 43-year-old woman who has been missing since July was discovered on Sunday afternoon. According to the police, a joint search conducted between the Hunters Search and Rescue Team and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service discovered the body of Kareen Ramlal at Bob Trace, Penal Road. Police say her personal effects was also found nearby.
Around 2:30 p.m. on Sunday, Ramlal's decomposing body was found wrapped tightly in a black tarpaulin in a bamboo grove at Bob Trace near the 8-mile mark in Penal Rock Road. Penal, after a search was conducted, a hammer was found next to the body, which is suspected to be the murder weapon. So they found the hammer. Ramlal's identification card, her phone and her shoes were also recovered from the scene.
Suspicions quickly pointed to her lover, Reginald. Speaking to local news platform Newsday, a member of the search team stated they spoke to Reginald, who was alleged to be the last person to see Kareen alive. But he was not satisfied with his explanation. Reginald could no longer be found and presumed to be on the run by authorities. An autopsy revealed the body of ex-murder convict Kareen was bludgeoned to death, almost in the same manner that her husband Anil was murdered. The cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma to the head. Reginald appeared to escape justice for allegedly committing the vile act on his lover, but as fate would have it, justice found its way to him. In January 2025, some 3 years after Kareen's murder, a man was held by officers under an imposed state of emergency exercise to crack down on crime elements on the island. The man tried outsmarting officers by providing what was believed to be his name. But when running his fingerprints, they realized he wasn't the fake identity provided, but in fact Kareen's murder suspect, Reginald Smart. He was arrested and brought before a judge on January 20th, 2025, where he was officially charged with the murder of his lover, Kareen Ramlal.
He tried to outsmart police when he gave them a false name after he was held by officers of the Southwestern Division. However, police ran Smart's fingerprint and realized that the Bob Trace Penal Rock Road resident was wanted for murder. Officers of Region 3 Homicide Bureau was contacted and they confirmed Smart was wanted in connection with the murder of 43-year-old Kareen Ramlal. Smart was Ramlal's common-law husband at the time of her death.
Reginald was denied bail and remanded into police custody until his trial hearing set for September 3rd. A daughter and a son are left without their mother after enduring so many years apart with her incarceration. Her daughter recalled after her mother's prison release, she was putting her life back together on a better path.
Ramlal was freed just in December. Now she's dead.
Some argue that all suspects involved in both murders got what they deserved. Others say she was right in the murder of her husband, given the assault allegations. Some believe life comes full circle, and a life taken requires a life in return to balance the scale. What's certain is that love sometimes loses itself in emotions that use it to commit acts that contradict what love is meant to be. For more true crime documentaries, check out one of the videos on the screen. This has been an episode of Mysteries, where true stories from around the world come to life. What stories come next? Like, share, comment and subscribe to never miss what intriguing chronicles will be told.